Makena had always believed the night roads remembered everything. The footsteps of those who fled danger, the cries of travelers who never reached home, and the whispers of souls who refused to stay dead. But she never imagined that one day, those roads would remember her too. She sat at the edge of the Nairobi bus park just after sunset, her small weather-beaten handbag clutched tightly under her arm. The evening was strange. Thicker, heavier than usual. The air hummed like something unseen was breathing just over her shoulder. For the third night in a row, the bus she hoped to take home had broken down. "Overheating," the driver said, scratching his head. "Bad luck week," another joked. But Makena didn't laugh. Bad luck rarely happened 3 nights in a row. Not to her. Not after everything. She checked her phone, battery at 9%. It flickered, dimmed, then steadied. A warning. A whisper. She stood, the cold evening pressing against her skin like damp fingers. That's when she noticed the taxi. An old, faded white Toyota, idling quietly under a broken street lamp. No glowing taxi sign. No ride-hailing sticker. Just a car waiting exactly where she needed one to be. The driver didn't call out like the others. He didn't wave. He simply watched her through the windshield, still patient as though he had been waiting only for her. Her heartbeat thudded. Something about him felt wrong. Not dangerous, just wrong. Like a memory she couldn't place. But she was tired, and she needed to get home. Makena approached the car slowly. The window slid down with a soft mechanical groan. The driver was an older man, mid-50s maybe, clean-shaven, wearing a neatly ironed white shirt. His eyes were soft, almost kind, but unfocused, like he wasn't looking at her but through her. "Where are you going?" he asked quietly. His voice was calm. "To come." As if he already knew the answer. Makena hesitated. "Kiambu Road," she said. "Near Ridgeview." The man nodded once. "Get in," he said, not blinking. She almost stepped back. Something inside her screamed no. Don't. But then her phone buzzed once and died completely. Total darkness. She swallowed. "Okay." She opened the back door and slipped inside. The interior smelled faintly of eucalyptus and something else. Something metallic. Something old. He shivered. The driver glanced at her in the mirror, but the mirror didn't reflect her properly. Her shape seemed faint, distorted, a shadow of herself. She blinked hard. When she looked again, everything was normal. The engine hummed. The taxi pulled away from the station. And the first thing Makena noticed was the silence. No radio. No incoming calls. No street noise from outside. Just stillness. "Do you work around town?" the driver asked without emotion. "Yes," Makena replied. "I work at." "You leave at the same time every day," he said. Not as a question. As a statement. Makena stiffened. "How would you know that?" He didn't answer. He simply smiled through the mirror. Small knowing smile. They drove through downtown Nairobi. But the streets were empty. Completely empty. At 7:43 p.m. Not a single motorcycle. Not a bus. Not a pedestrian. Not even stray dogs. Makena leaned closer to the window. The city lights looked dimmer, the buildings slightly faded, as if she were passing through a photograph of the city. Not the real thing. "Is there a road closure?" she asked. "No," he said quietly. "The road just clears for me." For me. Makena began to feel the weight of a truth she didn't know yet, but could sense pressing against her ribs. "Do you drive at night often?" she asked cautiously. "Only at night," he replied. She waited for him to elaborate. He didn't. After a few minutes she tried again. "What about day shifts?" The driver chuckled softly. It was not a normal laugh. It was more like air being forced through a cracked flute. "I don't belong to the day," he said. "It's not my world anymore." Makena's pulse hammered. She gently touched her door handle. He noticed. "You're safe," he said without turning around. "I don't hurt the living." Her breath caught. What does that mean?" He didn't respond. He simply drove faster. The air grew colder. Her heartbeat drummed in her ears. She glanced at the side mirror. But she wasn't there. Her reflection was missing. She choked on her breath. Her fingers trembled violently. "Stop the car," she gasped. "Stop the car." The driver slowed, calmly pulled to the side of the deserted road, and parked. Makena grabbed the door handle. It unlocked. She yanked it open. And froze. 'Cause someone was standing outside. Woman. In a tattered dress. Barefoot. Head tilted unnaturally to the side. Her skin was pale, almost gray. Her eyes were wide, unblinking. Her neck bent, as if it had been broken long ago. Makena stumbled backward into the seat. Who is she? The driver didn't look at the woman. He kept his eyes on Makena. "She's your seatmate for tonight." His voice was gentle, soothing, deadly calm. The woman's lips stretched into a slow, unnatural smile. Makena slammed the door shut. The woman didn't move, didn't blink, just stared. The driver whispered, "She died on this road 22 years ago. I picked her up before she knew she was dead. Just like I did with the others." He pointed forward. Makena followed his finger and saw silhouettes emerging from the darkness ahead. Women, children, people of all ages, all pale, all still, all staring at the car with hollow eyes. Makena's throat tightened. Who are they?" The driver exhaled slowly. "My passengers." The world spun. "Passengers," she whispered. But they're ghosts," he said softly. "Spirits, souls that died in pain. They can't go home. So I take them where they need to go." He turned toward her fully for the first time. His eyes glowing faintly. Not warm, not human. "But tonight," he continued, "you didn't board a normal taxi, Makena." Makena pressed herself against the seat, trembling. "Why me?" she cried. "I'm alive." His expression softened with something like pity. "Yes," he said quietly. "You are alive, but you walk with death behind you." Makena felt her stomach drop. She knew exactly what he meant. Her past, her trauma, her secrets, the night she never talked about, the night her world changed forever, the night she survived. But something else didn't. Her breath came in quick bursts. "I want to get out," she whispered shakily. "Please." The driver nodded kindly. "You can leave any time. But if you walk out now, they will follow." He pointed at the window again. The pale figures were closer now. Their shapes clearer. Their faces twisted with longing. "They smell grief," he said softly. "They cling to anyone who feels broken. And Makena, you smell of sorrow." Her hands shook uncontrollably. "But why did you stop for me then?" "Because you called me." Makena's voice cracked. "No, I didn't." The driver smiled faintly. "You prayed last night. You asked for help. You said you were tired. You said you wanted the pain to stop." Makena's blood turned to ice. "You asked for a sign," he whispered. "I am the sign." She shook her head violently, tears burning down her cheeks. "No, I didn't mean it like that. I didn't want to die." "You're not dead," he assured her. "Not yet. But you're close enough that I could hear you." Makena's heart thudded painfully. Her vision blurred. The road outside was now filled. Not with cars, but with lost souls pressing closer. Their hollow eyes peering directly at her. "Take me home," she breathed. Her voice was barely audible. "Please. Just take me home." For the first time the driver blinked slowly, thoughtfully. almost human. You want to go home. Makena nodded desperately. Then you must stay in the taxi, he said. And no matter what you hear, no matter what you see, don't look back. Makena froze. Why? Because the spirits will try to talk to you. They will try to show you your worst memories. They will try to break you. He turned the ignition. But if you stay quiet and keep your eyes forward, I can take you back to the world of the living. The car rolled forward. The spirits parted around them. And Makena realized, for the next hour, her life depended on her ability not to look at the dead. As the taxi accelerated, the whispering began, soft at first, then louder, then unbearable. Voices calling her name. Voices she recognized. Voices from her past. Voices she thought she'd never hear again. Her fingers trembled. Her throat tightened. Her eyes burned with tears. And the dead outside closed in like a tide. Makena kept staring straight ahead. But then a voice whispered behind her ear. A voice she knew. Better than her own heartbeat. A voice she had not heard in years. Makena, why did you leave me? Her entire body froze. No. No. Not that voice. Not that memory. She squeezed her eyes shut as tears streamed down. Don't look, the driver said calmly. Not if you want to live. But the voice came again, soft, broken, heartbreaking. Makena, please turn around. I'm cold. I'm alone. It's so dark where I am. Her lungs collapsed into themselves. Her fingers dug into the seat. She whispered, voice cracking. Stop. Please stop. But the whisper only moved closer, like lips brushing her ear. Why didn't you come back for me? Makena's screams rose in her throat. Makena's heart hammered against her ribs so violently she thought it might burst. The voice behind her kept whispering, soft, trembling, soaked in sorrow. A voice she had buried. A voice she had run from. A voice that belonged to a night she spent years trying to forget. Makena! The whisper cracked like a broken bone. Why did you leave me? She squeezed her eyes shut and pressed herself back against the seat, her entire body trembling violently. Driver, she whispered, voice shaking. Please, please make it stop. The taxi driver didn't turn. He simply kept his eyes forward, the road ahead pitch black and endless. You're almost home, he said quietly. Don't look back. Not even if it hurts. Makena wanted to scream, wanted to cry, wanted to get out. But something inside her knew. If she opened that door, if she turned even a little, she would never return to the world of the living. Her skin prickled. Her breath came in shallow bursts. The whispering behind her grew more desperate. Makena, I'm begging you. Look at me. Don't leave me again. She covered her ears. But the voice seeped through her fingers like fog. I waited for you to come back. But you never did. A sob ripped from her throat. Stop, she cried. Just stop. Everything went silent. The whisper shut off abruptly. Not faded. Not drifted away. But stopped. As if cut with a blade. The sudden silence was worse. Makena's breathing grew ragged as fresh tears dripped onto her lap. The driver finally spoke, voice low and steady. They know your weakness now. He glanced at her through the rearview mirror. They know who you lost. Makena's stomach twisted painfully. I didn't lose anyone, she said shakily. I survived. That's all. The driver's eyes softened with something like sadness. Survivors, he whispered, carry the heaviest ghosts. The words punched through her chest. The taxi moved deeper into the dark road, a road Makena no longer recognized. The street lights were dim, flickering faintly like dying candles. The buildings were shadowy outlines, unreal and distant. It didn't feel like Nairobi anymore. It felt like a place that existed between breaths, between heartbeats, between life and death. Makena gripped the seat so tightly her nails dug into the fabric. "Where are we?" she whispered. "A crossing," the driver said simply. "A place the living never see. A place the dead pass through. I drive both roads." Makena swallowed hard. "But I'm alive," she said. "I'm not supposed to be here." "Yes," he said. "You are alive." He paused, then added softly, "For now." Makena felt her heart drop like a stone. A faint tapping began on the window beside her. Her head jerked toward the sound. Then she froze, remembering his warning. "Eyes forward," he said sharply. "Don't look at them." But the tapping grew louder, sharper, more urgent. Something was outside, scratching, begging. Her breathing quickened. The driver said nothing. He let the tapping continue, his hands steady on the wheel. Then a voice came from the window. Child's voice, soft trembling. "Miss, can you help me? I can't find my mother." Makena's chest tightened. The child's voice cracked on the edge of tears. "It's cold. I'm scared. Please don't ignore me." Makena pressed her forehead against the front seat, sobbing silently. "Why are they doing this to me?" she whispered. "They're desperate," the driver said. "They want warmth. They want memory. They want to be seen." He paused. "But the moment you look, they'll take your place." Makena covered her mouth to stop herself from screaming. The child's voice morphed, no longer soft, no longer pleading, deeper, older, twisted. "Makena," the voice snarled. "Look at me." She clenched her teeth, tears soaking her fingers. "Driver, please, just drive faster." "I can't," he said calmly. "The road decides the speed." Makena wanted to punch the window, claw at the door, anything to escape. Then she heard heavy breathing beside her, right next to her ear. What? Hungry. Her body froze. Something was inside the car. Presence. Shadow. A weight on the seat beside her. Her heart nearly burst. "Driver," she whispered in horror. "Is something inside?" His voice was stern. "Don't turn. Don't acknowledge it. Don't breathe too loudly. Just look forward." Makena stared at the driver's headrest, her only anchor to reality. But the presence beside her shifted closer, closer, closer. She felt it lean toward her, felt cold breath on her cheek, heard a low, rattling whisper. "Makena, you forgot me." She shook uncontrollably. The voice continued. "I waited for you at the river. You said you'd come back. But you never did." Makena's vision blurred with tears. "No," she whimpered. "Stop, please stop." The presence pressed closer. "You left me there. You let me drown." Makena clasped her hands over her ears. But the voice seeped into her skull. "You walked away while I screamed." She sobbed harder, her voice breaking apart. "I tried to save you," she cried. I tried. The presence inhaled sharply beside her. Choked wet sound, as if water was filling its lungs. "You left me," it gurgled. "You left me to die." Makena screamed. The driver slammed his palm on the dashboard. "Enough," he commanded. The presence instantly dissolved. A cold wind sweeping through the car, leaving Makena gasping for breath. Silence fell again. Heavy, painful, suffocating. Makena slid down in her seat, shaking violently. What was that thing?" "A memory," the driver said. "A ghost of your guilt." Makena covered her face with trembling hands. "I didn't mean to leave them," she whispered brokenly. "I didn't want them to die." "I know," he said softly. "But guilt is a doorway. It lets the dead whisper to you even when they can't reach you. Her voice cracked as she asked, "Who are you?" The driver inhaled deeply. "I am someone who once failed the living," he said. "And so I serve the dead." Makena lifted her head slightly. "What happened to you?" For the first time the driver spoke with weight, with memory, and sorrow. "I was once like any man. I drove people through the night. A simple taxi driver. Quiet life. Regular routes." He paused. "Until the night I ignored a passenger." Makena frowned through her pain. "I don't understand." His knuckles tightened on the wheel. "A woman came to my car one night, crying, terrified, begging for a ride, begging me not to let someone find her." Makena swallowed. "What did you do?" "I locked my doors," he said. "And I drove away." Makena's breath hitched. "She was found the next morning," he whispered. "Her spirit never left the road. And her soul was the first to ride with me." A shiver crawled up Makena's spine. "I tried to apologize," the driver continued. "But the dead refused my apology. They gave me a task instead." "What task?" she whispered. "To drive them," he said. "To pick up every soul who died alone, abandoned, forgotten. To take them where they need to go." Makena stared at the back of his head. "And tonight," he said quietly, "I picked you." "Why?" she whispered. "Because you are carrying a ghost," he said. "A ghost that has followed you for years." Her chest tightened painfully. "No," she whispered. "No, no, no." The world outside grew darker, colder, and the voices of the dead pressed closer to the windows. The driver turned slowly toward her, his eyes glowing faintly with a soft, unnatural light. "Makena," he whispered, "you have to tell me what happened at the river." Her heartbeat stuttered. Her lips trembled. Her breathing shattered. I can't," she whispered. "I swore I'd never talk about it again." "If you don't," the driver said, "the ghost will break through. And if it gets in, I can't save you." Makena shut her eyes. Memories she had buried clawed their way up her throat. Her voice cracked. "It wasn't my fault." Tears streamed down her cheeks. "Please believe me, it wasn't my fault." "Tell me," the driver repeated softly. "Let the truth out. Before the dead do it for you." Makena inhaled shakily. "1 year ago," she whispered, "I went to the river with someone I loved." Her voice trembled. "We fought. We said things we didn't mean. And they slipped. They slipped into the water." Her voice broke into sobs. "I tried to reach them. I tried. But the current was too strong." Her hands covered her mouth as she cried. "I ran for help. But by the time I came back..." Silence. A horrifying silence. The driver closed his eyes. "That is the voice calling you," he whispered. Makena sobbed harder. "They were my best friend," she cried. "My other half. And everyone said it was an accident. But I never forgave myself." The taxi driver nodded slowly. "That guilt," he said, "called the road." Makena's chest tightened. "And that guilt," he continued, "is why I heard you praying. Why found you. Why they found you." Makena wiped her tears with shaking hands. "Can you take me away from them?" she whispered. The driver turned forward again. "I can take you home," he said softly. "But only if you face the ghost that followed you." Makena's stomach twisted. "Face it how?" The driver took a deep breath. "You must speak to the spirit," he said. "Not look at it. Not touch it. Just speak." Makena's entire body shook. I don't think I can." "You must," he said. "Or the spirit will follow you for the rest of your life." Makena stared at the floor. Then a cold gust swept through the car. The windows fogged instantly. The lights outside flickered. The temperature dropped so low her breath turned to mist. The driver whispered, It's here. Makena froze. A soft dripping sound came from behind her. Like water falling from soaked clothing. Her lungs tightened. Her fingers dug into the seat. She didn't dare turn. The driver whispered again. Makena, speak to it. She swallowed hard. Her voice shook as she whispered. I'm sorry. Silence. The presence behind her leaned closer. Water dripped onto her shoulder. Cold. Heavy. Real. Makena squeezed her eyes shut. I'm so sorry, she cried. I tried to save you. I never meant to leave. I never meant to fail you. The presence inhaled sharply. Then a voice. The voice. The one she tried to bury. Whispered. Makena. Why did you run? Makena broke. I was scared, she sobbed. I panicked. I thought you would hate me. I thought everyone would blame me. I thought. Her voice cracked into pieces. The spirit exhaled. A sound like water releasing from lungs. Makena whispered. I not leave you. Silence. The presence pulled away slowly. The air warmed by a single degree. The driver's voice softened. It's listening. But it hasn't left. Makena choked on her breath. What more does it want? The driver looked at her through the mirror. His eyes dim with something dark. It wants to finish the journey. The one it never completed. Makena trembled. What journey? The journey home. Makena's heart shattered. Home, she whispered. The driver nodded. Your ghost wants to go home, Makena. And you are the only one who can take it. Makena wiped her tears, voice trembling. What happens if I take it home? The driver paused. And for the first time, fear flickered across his face. If you take it home, he whispered, the spirit will show itself fully. He swallowed. And once you see it, your soul becomes vulnerable. Makena's breath hitched. But if I refuse? The driver's voice became hollow. Then it will drag you into its world instead. Makena's heartbeat pounded in her ears. So either I take the ghost home, or it takes me. The driver nodded once. Makena wiped her face, trembling violently. I can do it, she whispered. I'll take it home. The driver inhaled deeply. Then brace yourself, he said. Because when a spirit returns home, his voice dropped to a whisper. It remembers how it died. Makena's blood turned to ice. The lights outside flickered violently. Car shook. Something wet splashed against the back seat. The spirit was manifesting. The driver gripped the wheel. Makena, he said urgently. Do not turn around. The engine sputtered. The lights died. Total darkness swallowed the taxi. And from behind Makena, a wet hand touched her shoulder. Makena didn't move. She didn't breathe. She didn't blink. Because the thing knocking on her front door was knocking in the same pattern as the ghost woman tapping on her taxi window. 3 soft knocks. Long pause. 2 quick knocks. Like a code. Like a memory. Like a warning. Makena's stomach folded in on itself. The cold from outside felt like it was seeping through the wood, sliding over her skin like damp fingers. She spoke without meaning to, her voice cracking. Who's there? Silence. Tap tap. Her legs almost gave out. It was the same rhythm. The exact same rhythm from the woman in white. The same rhythm Makena heard at the cemetery. The same rhythm that echoed inside the taxi when the lights went out. Makena backed away from the door. But the knocking continued, soft and patient, like the visitor already knew she was inside. A whisper seeped under the door. A woman's whisper. Cold. Measured. Driver. You never dropped me home. Makena clamped a hand over her mouth. Her ears rang. Her heartbeat thrashed violently in her chest. She wanted to scream, but her throat felt locked. The whisper came again, closer, clearer. "Open the door, Makena. You owe me the rest of the ride." Makena sprinted backward, stumbling over her coffee table. The door creaked open an inch, just an inch, but enough for a sliver of darkness to leak through, like the night itself was breathing. "Stop!" Makena shouted. "Stop! Don't come in. Please!" The turning stopped. Silence. Then a single whisper right against the crack. "Then come out." Makena froze, her mind spinning. "Come out? Oh, where?" The whisper answered her thoughts, as if reading them. "Back to the taxi, Makena. Back to where you picked me. Back to where it ended." "No," Makena whispered. "I'm not going back." "Yes, you are," the woman said. "But you won't be the one driving this time." The crack in the door sealed shut. The knocking stopped. The cold lifted. Makena collapsed to the floor, trembling so violently she could barely remain upright. But she wasn't alone. Because her phone, which lay face down on the carpet, lit up on its own. It began to ring. The caller ID. Rider. Unknown passenger. Makena stared at it, horrified. The phone kept vibrating. The name kept glowing. Rider. Unknown passenger. Rider. Unknown passenger. Rider. Unknown passenger. It rang until the screen dimmed. A new message appeared. Your trip has restarted. Estimated pickup, 003. Makena's breath stopped. 3 minutes. 3 minutes until... What? The screen blinked again. A map appeared. Her own home. Route. Moving icon. A taxi, her taxi, driving itself toward her house. Makena shook her head, tears pushing out of her eyes. No, 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 no. I left the keys inside the house. I left the taxi outside. I didn't start anything. But the taxi icon kept moving. Low. Purposeful. Coming straight to her. And then, the headlights appeared outside her window. Her taxi had arrived. Makena crawled to the window, too scared to get close but too terrified not to look. Her taxi idled silently at the curb. But someone was sitting in the driver's seat. Someone painfully still. Figure. Motionless. Wearing something pale. Makena squinted, but immediately regretted it. The figure in the driver's seat turned its head sharply toward her window. Even from across the street she could tell. It wasn't human. And it wasn't alive. Its face was too smooth. Its neck moved too far. Its eyes didn't blink. Makena stumbled back from the window with a choked sob. Her phone vibrated again. New message. Step outside. Your driver has arrived. Makena grabbed the nearest object, a lamp, clutching it like a weapon. No, she whispered. You don't control me. You can't make me. The reply came instantly. You already accepted the ride. Makena felt her stomach lurch. The app opened itself again. On the history page. Trip status. In progress. 5 hours 17 minutes since start. Makena's breath hitched. She hadn't ended the trip. She never pressed end ride. Which meant she was still the taxi driver. And the ghost was still her passenger. The lights flickered. The floorboards creaked as though weight was shifting across them. A shadow slipped under her bedroom door. A long, stretched shadow, wrong in shape, wrong in movement, sliding across the living room floor like spilled ink. Makena screamed and jumped on the couch. The shadow paused, swelled, darkened. It rose from the floor like smoke forming a human figure. And then a voice, the same whisper, poured into the room. You didn't finish the journey, Makena. So I came to finish it for you. Makena hurled the lamp. It passed right through the figure, shattering against the wall. The ghost's shape rippled but didn't break. Instead it leaned forward. You will take me home. Makena shook her head violently. Please, please. I can't do this anymore. I didn't know you were dead, the ghost asked gently. I didn't know either. Makena's blood turned to ice. What do you mean you didn't know? The figure stepped closer. When you picked me up, I didn't realize I had died. Not until you dropped me at the cemetery. Makena's lips trembled. So why are you haunting me? What do you want? The ghost tilted its head, the motion sharp, unnatural. I want the truth. What truth? The ghost's smile stretched too far. When you looked in the mirror. When the taxi stalled. When everything went black. Makena felt her knees weaken. The ghost whispered. You didn't see me behind you. Makena, you saw yourself. Makena's mind snapped. What are you talking about? The ghost stepped so close that its cold presence soaked into her skin. You're not alive anymore, Makena. Her heart crashed against her ribs. That's not funny, she stammered. Stop. That's why the app won't end your ride. That's why you never feel warm. That's why no one sees you in the taxi when you drive at night. They only see me. Makena felt lightheaded, dizzy, suffocated. The ghost leaned in. You weren't the driver, Makena. You were my last passenger. Makena's scream died in her throat. Everything in the room went silent. The lights flickered. Once. Then went out. Total darkness. Makena's voice cracked. What do you mean? I'm your passenger. The ghost's whisper, now right behind her ear. Because you died the night you picked me. Makena froze. Her breath stopped. Her heart felt too slow. What? No, I didn't. I made it home. I walked into my house. You never reached the house. Makena shook her head violently. I'm here. I'm alive. I'm talking to you. You're remembering wrong. The ghost extended a hand. And suddenly, the entire room dissolved. Her house melted away. The walls folded into darkness. The floor dissolved beneath her feet. Her living room evaporated like smoke. Makena was standing on a silent road. The road where she had picked up the ghost. Her taxi was crashed. The front crushed. The windshield shattered. Smoke rising. And inside the driver's seat, slumped forward, blood running down her face, was Makena. Lifeless. Makena's knees buckled. No. This isn't real. The ghost stood beside her. This is the truth. Makena stared at her own corpse, at her own hands, at her own pale, translucent skin. She wasn't breathing. She wasn't casting a shadow. She wasn't alive. Makena fell to the ground, screaming. No. I'm here. I'm right here. The ghost knelt beside her. You were a good driver, Makena. But even the best drivers lose their way. Makena sobbed. So what happens now? The ghost stood, extending a hand. Now, you join the others. Behind the ghost, dozens of pale figures appeared. Silent, waiting, watching. Ghost passengers. Just like her. The ghost whispered. Midnight never ends for us, Makena. This road is our route. This taxi is our home. Makena looked up, her tears turning cold. But what about the living? The ghost smiled. We pick them up. They never notice. They think we're drivers. Makena felt the world collapse around her. And me? What am I now? The ghost's whisper cut through the darkness. You're the new taxi driver, Makena. The crashed taxi repaired itself. Lights flickered on. The engine hummed. The passenger doors opened. Ready. Waiting. The ghost placed a cold hand on Makena's shoulder. Your first passenger is coming. Makena shook uncontrollably. Who? The ghost stepped back into the shadows. A distant human figure walked toward the taxi, waving casually, completely unaware. Makena realized, with a sickening drop in her stomach. The living couldn't see the difference between her and a real driver anymore. Makena tried to run, but the taxi doors slammed shut behind her. The app on the dead dashboard lit up on its own. New ride accepted. Makena screamed inside the taxi, but her voice made no sound. The engine roared. The headlights cut through the night. And Makena, no longer alive, no longer herself, no longer free, began driving toward her first living passenger. Her eternal shift had begun. Makena's hands tightened on the steering wheel as the taxi rolled forward by itself. Her fingers looked wrong, faded, transparent, barely clinging to the world. She tried to lift her foot from the pedal, but her body wasn't responding to her anymore. She wasn't controlling the taxi. The taxi was controlling her. Outside, the night stretched endlessly. No birds, no wind, no sound except the low growl of the engine. The living passenger ahead raised his hand, waving for pickup. Oblivious, comfortable, trusting. Makena wanted to open her mouth to warn him. Don't get in. Please, don't get in. But her lips stayed frozen in a driver's polite half-smile. Her horror deepened when the passenger stepped forward, opening the back door casually. He sat inside. He didn't see the deadness in her eyes. He didn't see the coldness in her skin. He didn't hear the faint echo of the other ghosts whispering in the back seat. "Good evening," the man said. Makena tried to speak, but her voice came out smooth and unnatural. "Welcome. Where to?" It wasn't her voice. It was the ghost woman's voice, coming from Makena's throat. The man started scrolling on his phone. "Take me to Ngong Road," he said. Makena's finger twitched. The meter started itself. "Begin ride." The headlights cut deeper into the empty midnight streets. The man sat comfortably, unaware of the danger. But Makena could see what he couldn't. A pale, thin figure sat beside him. The same ghost woman. Her head slowly turned toward Makena, her mouth curled unnaturally wide. She spoke without moving her lips. "You're doing well." Makena tried to scream. Her body didn't move. Taxi drove faster. The roads stretched longer. The shadows grew deeper. Every time Makena's gaze flicked toward the rearview mirror, she saw more of them. More ghost passengers. Filling every seat. Silent. Facing forward. Waiting. Makena whispered in her own mind. "I don't want this. I don't want to be here. Please, let me go." The ghost woman leaned closer to the living man. Her cold hand hovered inches from his cheek. "Soon," she whispered. But the man didn't hear anything. He didn't see death sitting right beside him. Makena understood then. She was no longer the victim. She was the trap. Taxi. A car. Her old livelihood. Was now a ferry for souls. And she was its driver. They reached a turn. Makena recognized it instantly. Ngong Road never went this way. But the taxi didn't stop. The headlights illuminated a narrow pitch-black path leading into the trees. The man leaned forward. "Driver, this isn't the route." Makena wanted to cry. Her voice, controlled by the ghost woman, answered smoothly. "Shortcut." He frowned, uncomfortable. "Okay, if you're sure." He didn't finish the sentence. The road beneath them changed. The smooth asphalt turning into cracked gray stone. The streetlights disappearing. The sky darkening unnaturally, as if painted over by shadow. The man leaned forward again. "Driver, where are we?" Makena felt tears burning behind her dead eyes. She mouthed silently. "Run. Please, run." But he didn't understand the terror hanging in the air. The trees thinned. The darkness opened. And the taxi stopped. In front of the cemetery. "Why are we here?" he whispered. Makena's breath froze. She could feel them gathering. The ghost. All of them. Dozens. Hundreds. Shapes forming from the shadows. Faces pale and sunken. Eyes hollow. All turning toward the taxi. Makena's fingers trembled. The meter flashed. End of the line. The ghost woman placed a hand on the living man's shoulder. This time he felt it. He shivered. What the hell? Makena's mouth opened on its own. Her voice came out layered. Hers and the ghost woman's overlapping. Sir, it's time to get out. The man panicked. Driver. Open the doors, let me out, let me out. The doors stayed locked. The lights flickered violently. Ghostly hands began pressing against the windows. Dozens, hundreds, smearing the glass. Trying to get in. Or trying to pull him out. Makena tried one last time to fight the possession. She pushed every ounce of her fading soul into her voice, forcing a whisper through the dead stillness. Don't open the door. The man froze. He looked at the rearview mirror. And finally saw Makena for what she was. Not alive. Not human. A ghost wearing a living driver's memory like clothing. He screamed. Too late. The locks clicked open by themselves. The passenger door swung wide. Cold darkness flooded in. And the ghost swallowed him. His screams disappeared into the night. Taxi went still. Silence. The meter reset. Ready for next ride. A soft voice echoed beside her. See, Makena. Every soul has a driver. Makena stared ahead, hollow, broken. What happens to them? She whispered. The ghost woman smiled gently. They join us. Makena felt the last of her humanity slipping away. Do I ever stop driving? The woman shook her head. Not until someone replaces you. Makena's voice cracked. And if no one does? The ghost leaned closer. Then you drive forever. Makena looked at her hands. Transparent. Me. Cold. A tragic truth sank into her soul. She was trapped in a shift that would never end. A driver in a world that had forgotten her. A prisoner of the very job she once loved. The engine turned on. Against her will. Her taxi pulled away from the cemetery. Her headlights cut through the darkness. The app vibrated. New request. Passenger waiting. Makena whispered. Please, someone help me. But no one heard her. 'Cause no one hears a dead driver. And no one notices when a taxi pulls up with only ghost passengers inside. Not until it's already too late. If Makena's final ride chilled you, then imagine how many taxis still wander the night with unseen passengers. Before your next ride, ask yourself, is your driver alive? Or is someone else holding the wheel? If you want more stories like this, subscribe, turn on the bell icon, and let me guide you into the next darkness. Because in these tales, the night never ends.